This episode brought to you by coffee.
Hey, it's Aaron. Today I'm sitting in a 2022 Volkswagen ID4. The ID4 is Volkswagen's first electric car that was built from the ground up to be an electric car, and it introduces a platform that Volkswagen will be using for a bunch of EVs going forward. So, to give a little perspective on this vehicle, before I did a full review, I'll link to that when it goes up, but to give a little perspective on kind of what we're dealing with here, this car is smaller in footprint than the Volkswagen Tiguan, but it has the same size interior if you look at all the numbers. So fairly large, a good two-row kind of SUV style wagon with just a huge cargo space and lots of rear seat room. So very well done on that front. Now, this is the interior walkthrough. So we're going to focus on the interior such as it is. One thing you're going to note is that Volkswagen took their usual Teutonic austerity and really went nuts with it. All right, so let's just start where we normally start. Over here, there's a lot going on, sort of. So let's, yeah. All right, so over here, you got door locks, which is interesting. It's just one button. You push it and they're on. You push it and they're not. Up here, you got your child locks, right? So it locks the rear doors, unlocks them. Over here, you have your side mirrors. So you turn this until what you're looking for lights up, and then you adjust. You can also turn this all the way down right there, and that turns on mirror heaters. So pretty cool kind of a setup. There's a middle neutral position, and then you probably just noticed it's pretty easy to accidentally hit some of these buttons. Just kind of an FYI. Over here, you can push this, and now these run the rear windows, and then you undo that, and these run the front windows. That I kind of like, just because it cleans this up, removes a couple of buttons that you probably don't really use that much anyway. So pretty cool setup there. Now over here, you're seeing lighting. So right now, nothing's going on, but I can change the lighting mode and say auto. So now it's on automatic lighting. Because it's daytime, this just shut itself off. It realizes there's sunlight, shut it off. And here's your defrost down here. They work exactly the same way. You turn them on, you turn them off. So pretty cool there. You get used to this pretty quick, and it's an interesting location for it, especially for these defrosts. But I'll show you why Volkswagen put all this over here in a minute. Now, coming up here, looking at the steering wheel, we've seen other Volkswagen models before where this has been the norm. So when the car is off, when the vehicle is totally shut off, these aren't lit up at all. It's just a black blank slate. And then these light up when the car comes on. And like I said, we've seen that in some other vehicles before, mostly from Volkswagen and Audi. But let's look at what's going on the steering wheel. Start on the left. Over here, this is almost all cruise control stuff. With the exception of this down here, this is cruise control. So you set and resume and turn it on and off up here, and or cancel, and then you can increase and decrease. When it is set, this middle part lights up, and it's the little car with the radar looking things in front of it. That's your distance setting for that cruise control. So if I turn cruise on, I don't think it's going to, nope. So it's not going to actually do anything unless you're actually driving. So it's going to be hard for me to show you. Down here is modes. These modes actually work on that. So when you go through this, it changes what you're seeing on the stereo stuff over on the infotainment screen. Coming over here, we're looking at mostly entertainment items. So You see volume here. You can see your view. This actually changes the view of what's happening on the driver information screen. And then you can page up and down and hit OK. So if you're paging through that, it will affect that. Otherwise, this affects your track listings and or channels. Up here is voice control. In this car, you have to kind of get used to the voice control and use it a little bit, because certain things are really tedious and require a lot of button pushes to happen. I'll show you why in a minute. I know I'm doing a lot of like build up stuff. I'll show you why in a moment. Okay, just building up to that big reveal. Yeah. Anyway, really quickly, over here is your washer wipers and so forth. This has a rear wiper and a front wiper, so you run those just as it's shown. You can pretty much see that. It's like every other Volkswagen. Move it up and down, changes the speed with it right there, push it back and forth to get the squirters and so on. Over here, you have your signal turns up and down. You can also control lighting a little bit. Mostly what you're controlling is your brights. So you can regular pointing kind of down and pointing kind of up, I think is how that works. Or one off, I mean, when you pull it forward. So like this is just a brights really quickly. Like this turns them on, and then you can do it again and it turns them back down. And then driver information screen, speedometer, and so forth. So right now what you're seeing is, here's the total charge. I'm slightly below full. I unplugged this yesterday afternoon, and I've only driven it to move it from over there to over here, but we had a very cold overnight, so it would have used a little bit of power for that. So we're down by 2 miles of range. The normal full charge is, we're down over 10. 248 is the normal. And this is the odometer right there. And then you can see it's in park. And when you put it in park, it automatically sets the parking brake. You actually don't have a physical parking brake control in this car, which is kind of interesting. But it's electric, so you don't really need a parking brake in an electric, if you understand how an electric works. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to go through the gears. The gear shift is right here. So you turn it like this, it goes to drive. You turn it twice like that, it goes to the B mode. B mode is a pretty common thing in electric and hybrid cars. I think it was started by Toyota, may have been by somebody else. And it's basically an aggressive engine braking mode. So it uses the electric motor to slow the vehicle down aggressively. It's great for when you're going down hills, when you're coming off a freeway. So you exit the freeway onto the off ramp. You can use that to help you slow down, stuff like that. In the middle is neutral. Getting to neutral is a lot of fun. If you're in park, like I am now, you can turn it down. You have to turn it just ever so slightly. So I want you to watch that. I'll pull it back like this. You won't be able to see me turn that and see what's going on there. But if you're in drive, ever so slightly bring it down to neutral. If you're in park, ever so slightly and you're in neutral. Okay. Park is on the side and reverse is on the bottom. So you turn it down to get to reverse. Now, here is what you're looking at most of the time on this main screen. Now you can change it, just fiddle around with some of the buttons, and you can change what's showing on the screen. So if I want to show, say, this, so I was wrong on that. This is your adaptive cruise modes. So anyway, you can see what's going on the screen. If I shift, you can see it changes. If I go to park, you can see it parks, and so on. That's basically what you're going to see on the screen. While you're driving, it will show you a little more information up in here. But for the most part, this is what you're going to be looking at 99.9% of the time. Like I said, you can change what is on here. Like right there, I just hit the view and went back, so it's focusing on that driver aid screen. I can go this way and it shows this, and then through the infotainment you can change a few of the things that are on this screen. Now, going to that aforementioned infotainment, this is kind of the because I parked, it's thinking I'm gonna leave, and so it's leaving me like this. you have a couple of quick options when you park, and then you can change those options right up here. So immediate climate control means that if you're plugged in, the car can keep a certain temperature, which is exceedingly handy. We had really hot weather this week up until today. Now it's freezing, but you know, go figure. So you see it's 50 degrees outside. Here's the time and so forth. This is kind of like the main menu. So you push this and you end up on this main screen. If you push it again, you end up on that app screen. The app screen, you can also just swipe around, right? So you can do that. You can swipe. So there you go. And then you can see, here's some quick data as to what I've been doing. And you can flip through the quick data. So you can see over 545 miles, what's going on and what I've done. And so, since last charging, you can see what I've done and so on. So pretty neat stuff. You can go into some settings. You can do radio and stuff. In the settings menu, you can change a lot of the stuff that's on these screens, and you can change other things. There is a Wi-Fi hotspot in this, and etc. So you can kind of fiddle around with this. The configuration wizard is kind of fun because you can change all kinds of stuff in here, and you can set defaults. So you can change defaults to set them how you want them, which is highly useful. So during the week here, I set it so that if it was plugged in charging, which it was most of the time, it would hold 70 degrees on the climate on the interior here. And it worked beauty. So you you walk out, you unplug the car, you close the charge port, you climb in the car, and you drive off, and you're at about 70 degrees. Freaking awesome. Really awesome. Just for reference, I have a car charger at my house. This comes with one that plugs into a 110. I believe you can get one that plugs into a 220 for the car. I have a dedicated wall charger. It's on a 240 50 amp setup, so I can charge this car at 40 amps, which for a home charger that's not wired, so it's not one of the high cost ones. This one charges pretty quick. Charge times on this from full empty, I don't know because I never ran it that far, but from less than half, from about 40% all the way up to full, took about 7 hours. And that's the slowest end of the charging time, right? So an electric vehicle charges way faster in the very beginning than it does towards the end. It's part of how battery management works. The more energy you're putting in the battery, the more it creates heat. So in the beginning, you can do tons of it because there's lots of space to dissipate the heat. But as it fills, you start to lose that, and you have to manage it more. So yeah, pretty cool. Total charge time on this, I'm guessing, is about 11 hours if I were to plug it in from totally empty. And then if I were to say, if I had a lower charger, so if I had a 30 amp, which is the most common 240 volt outlet in a house, a 30 amp charge would take roughly 70% more time. So 50 to 70% more time. I did some calculations and I wrote an article about that, and if that's published before you see this video, I'll link to it about the differences in different charging methods. But basically, you would be looking at with a 30 amp plug, you can pull at maximum, I think it's 26 watts or 26 amps, which is almost half, which is slightly over half of what a 50 amp, which can pull 40. So this will pull the most you can give it. It even has a CHAdeMO plug. I'll show you a picture of that, and so you can use DC fast charging. Otherwise, that plug also works as your regular J1772 round plug, which is what I have. So really cool and pretty neat. But what I want you to note, this is what I've been building up to the whole time. Building up to this. There's no buttons. Like, all you got is this couple of things right here. The volume is right here. Temperature is right here. But channel changing, how do you do that? Right? Where's the channel changer? So let me go back to the menu, and then I'll do this. Audio. See how the audio pops up? Well, all that is volume, right? To change the channels in this, you have to physically go to the radio and go through all the stuff to find it. So I would have to go to the radio, and I'm trying to keep the copyright music off. And then I would have to go to like music, and then I would have to pick. It's a huge rigmarole just to change the station. Huge rigmarole. So that's where I just got used to this, because you can just hit this and say, change to Sirius channel 40, or change to channel 40, and boom, liquid metal. So that's a real annoyance to me. They tried to, so what Volkswagen did design-wise is they tried to eliminate all the extras that are usually in here, all the extra buttons and switches, and make it clean and empty. Because electric car makers, for whatever reason, seem to assume that whoever is shopping for their car wants their car to be like an iPhone. I don't know why. But anyway, down here you have a few things. So here's a quick menu, right, that will bring you to, I'm trying to remember what this brings up. It brings up nothing right now. So I don't know what it's for. See? Oh, it's your park menu. Duh. So basically what it does is, you can see it brings this up. So when you park, you can hit that and it will show you this screen really quickly. Something like this already comes up when you park, but it's that goodbye screen with just a couple of pieces of info and not everything you can get right here. Next thing here, you got your climate control. So if you want to fully control the climate, you can do it through that screen, including bun warmers and steering wheel heat. And then you got your Dukes lights. This assist button is interesting. If I can get it to come up. See, that's the other thing. Not everything pops up when you think it should pop up. I think I have to be driving. So let me put it in drive. There we go. This is all of your driver assistance stuff. So you can actually see what I did. I pushed on what it was, and then I can turn it on and off. Some of them have like distance warnings or distance changes. I can do that. Lots of little things like that. So see, I can do that. So it's kind of cool, really neat. I believe the lane change has it too. Yeah, lane keeping. So that's what the assist button does. And then your mode button is your drive modes. Oh, see, I still have to be in drive. So your mode button is drive modes. And here's your drive modes. Pretty straightforward. Honestly, I noticed very little difference between each of these, so I just kind of left it on default comfort most of the time. The eco mode was a little bit less interested in accelerating, but otherwise I didn't notice much of a difference. So I just kind of blew it off. I do know that there are things that eco mode will do that others won't. It's a little more aggressive with the regenerative braking, things like that. And I know that comfort mode is more about just the everyday drive, so you feel comfortable about it. But honest, the differences to me were very, very small, and the most, to be really frank, most of the difference was I knew there was supposed to be a difference. It wasn't, I felt an actual difference. Just saying. So anyway, there you go. And then you can see the full-on design like I talked about before. It's very empty, very clean. I do like that they added some bling though. So Volkswagen has gotten away from that kind of cheap, boring interior and has moved up. These are soft plastics. This is a little bit harder plastic. This is really hard plastic. And this is just a pretty offset that they did. The lighting in here is horrible. I know, I'm sorry. And then down here, you notice how empty this is. There's actually an empty spot underneath here too. And then it just moves like this. So you see, here's some drink holders and it comes back. And then there's this thing. So I'm going to kind of turn the camera sideways so you can get the full view. This bougie cover is actually covering up something that I think is friggin' brilliant. So down here is your phone spot. So you can throw your phone in there. It's a wireless charger. You have a couple of USB-Cs. This extra drink holder, right? But if you want, you can flip these around. Now that's a drink holder. And now that's a drink holder. You just got two more drink holders. Or you can just take them all the way out. and boom, big storage space. This thing is brilliant. I love this. It's like the smartest thing ever. And getting these in and out is easy. They literally just lift out. So yeah, I love this setup. It's so cool. And then it all hides away. Boom, like that. Seating in here, cloth, beautiful cloth, I will say. It's wonderful, feels really good. And my honest assessment is if you're going to own a electric vehicle or a vehicle where you don't want to be using a bunch of energy to heat and cool it, you want cloth seating. Cloth seating doesn't stay cold, doesn't get really hot. It cools down and heats up really quickly just by you being in it. So it's a wonderful choice for any sort of eco vehicle like this. And then this is really comfortable seating with good bolsters, a nice setup. Then you can see the back seats, much the same. And I'll show you a picture of the trunk. Really good sized trunk in this, really nice. And then otherwise, there really isn't anything else to show you. This is a very austere interior, but you get used to it quickly. My only complaints are really with just the radio tuning and stuff on the console. If you stream off your phone, that's no big deal, and a lot of us do. I streamed off my phone most of the week just because I got tired of switching between channels because I tend to go between Aussie's Boneyard 38 and Liquid Metal on 40, and then occasionally maybe down one and up one from there. So, you know, the Octane and Turbo and whatever. And that's a real pain to do with this system. But it's very easy to do if you're streaming off your phone or if you just get used to those voice controls and you know where you want to go. So really neat setup, really great car. This is one of the better electric vehicles I've been in terms of practicality and everyday. The Chevy Bolt was a very good car, but it's still really small. This one I had no problem getting my 3 kids in the back, getting junk in the very back. In fact, I folded the seats down and I loaded a whole bunch of cardboard in here from all these boxes, just shipments and of things that we've gotten over the last several months that have just piled up in the garage. And I just loaded them in here and took them to the recycling because, you know, I got an electric car, so it feels like I'm supposed to recycle stuff. But anyway, yeah, just a great car. I think Volkswagen really hit the mark here on most ways. What I would like to see is a little more going on the interior. I would like to see more hard buttons, more control to make it a little easier. But otherwise, this thing is beauty. So, good job, Volkswagen. All right, that's my interior walkthrough. This has been Aaron. Talk to you again soon.
Subscribe.